Hi, good evening, friends. I just want to welcome you to our conversation, A Haunting in the Chest. A conversation. A conversation about Southeast Asian stories on the American stage. And I'm going to be your host and moderator. My name is Saymoukda Duangphouxay Vongsay. All my friends call me Mooks. That's my name on the streets. And I just want to give a big thank you really quickly to the people who are making this possible. So big shout out to the Mellon Foundation, to How Around Theater Commons, to Theater Mill, where I live artistically, to InterAct Theater Company, based here in Philadelphia, and then also to our community partners. So we have VietLead, we also have Laos in the house, and we have the Cambodian Association of Greater Philadelphia.
Yes.
G-A-G.
Got it.
So close.
And we do have another person that's coming, and when she comes, we're gonna shame her.
I think it's happening right now.
Yeah. I think she's trying to-
Yeah.
So, I just want to preface really quickly that this conversation came about because I wanted to have a really fun and informative discussion around what does it mean to be Southeast Asian and theater making, and also be socially. Look at this!
Look at that. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage. Get in here. We're live. It's happening.
Wow. Yeah.
That's live theater, baby. That's live theater. Yeah.
All right, this is our friend Lan. So where was I? Oh, yes, the reason why we're having this conversation. So, as people who work in community, we are also creatives, but we're also social practice people. And when we thought of this collaboration between InterAct and all of the community orgs, and myself, it was really important for us that we uplift and include the Southeast Asian community at every stage of development of this work. And so I just want to get into that, but then also like learn more about y'all, and I want people in the universe to learn more about you and about this amazing project that's happening. Okay, so are you ready for a hard question?
Are you ready?
There's another camera. Could you start by introducing yourself and the organization that you're representing today? Do you want a moment?
I'll take a moment.
Okay, who wants to go?
Yeah, this is a really tough question, but I'm glad you asked. I'm Chaz T. I am the literary and development director at no, I'm not. My boss be so mad. Manager at InterAct Theater Company. I'm a dramaturg, a playwright about town here in Philadelphia. And I'm like the face of this round of the Philly cycle, which is I will talk about it in a little bit, but that's what this project is a commission for.
Cool. I'm Chaiya Vong. I am the civic and digital media cultivator with Cambodian Association of Greater Philadelphia. And I hopped onto this project because I wanted to, be more into the art scene with Philly and try to bridge that gap with Southeast Asian American kids and just anybody to try to get more closer to the arts culture.
You're originally from Dallas.
Oh yeah, but
Cool.
yeah, but this is a Philly conversation.
I know. Like,
I'm also-
it's great to connect.
Yeah, I'm also from Dallas.
My name is Catzie Vilayphonh. I'm an artist. Most people know me for my poetry. I'm currently the digital community cultivator for the Southeast Asian market in FDR Park. And I'm also director for Laos of the House. And I also have known Mooks since I was before 18, because I think we was an instant messenger, and we were like, oh, okay, like let's be friends. And then when we finally met, I was like, was this your screen name? And then we're like, oh, we realized we knew each other. Yeah.
This was during the AIM days. The
AOL
AOL.
days.
AIM to some of us.
Yeah.
And also the what's the MySpace for Asian? Asian
Fiction
Avenue.
Avenue.
Oh, there's that angle.
I didn't know about that.
Wow.
That was
Okay.
before my time.
Should we go?
We'll talk. Who are you?
Hi, everyone. I'm Lan. I'm one of the executive directors at VietLead. grew up in Philly, and what brought me to this project, I think just like I think like growing up and just seeing the accents of Southeast Asian stories, and really wanting to like uplift our stories, and like so much of the work that I do, the work that I'm inspired by all the folks here. And I think when this play came up, I was like, wow, what a beautiful, timely moment. You know, it's gonna be like the 50th year anniversary of like the end of the wars in Southeast Asia. Like, what is the story that we want to tell, like, of our community? And so I think this was a really beautiful, like, timely time to also have like a collaborative project between all of our organizations and communities.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention that I'm the playwright that they commissioned.
That's important.
That's important.
Context.
That's important. I'm like the Nick Fury of this.
Yeah, I think that about you all the time. Yeah.
Chaz,
Yeah.
tell us how this came about, InterAct Theater wanting to uplift Southeast Asian stories on your stage.
Totally. So I mentioned before this project called the Philly Cycle. InterAct got a grant from the William Penn Foundation here in Philadelphia to start a 5-year project that would yield 3 new plays that we commissioned over those 5 years. And each play was specifically designed to engage a certain demographic of Philadelphians who are like many in number, like census number, but have very little stage time on American stages, whether it's here in Philly or nationally. So for instance, the first play in that cycle, playwright Antu Yakub is working alongside the Black American Muslim population in Philadelphia, which is like an enormous amount of people. It's 250,000 people. Yet there are not very many plays about Black American Muslims in Philadelphia or otherwise in the American canon. There's a lot about American Muslims or like Muslim immigrants from other countries, but there are some of Black Muslims, but they're again not from America, they're immigrants. And so we have this huge population here who is not represented, and we thought it's time there was a story about them. And then when it came time to choose a second population, we started from home. We have a beloved artist who we work with all the time, an actor named Bijan No, who is a Vietnamese actor around town, well known and beloved, as I said. Seth Rosen, our artistic director, has an adopted Vietnamese brother from the aforementioned wars, who you may or may not heard of which you may not heard. And then I'm Vietnamese as well. And so we started actually just with wanting to write a play about the Vietnamese population in Philly, and then reached out to a couple of our board member who's Vietnamese, some more of our close friends, and they were like, if you're gonna talk about the Vietnamese in Philly, you're gonna talk about Cambodian, you're gonna talk about Lao, Thai, Hmong people as well. So like, just get them all in there. And so we were like, sure, I mean, who are we to disregard that advice? And then they connected us with these 3 organizations, which it's funny, like you've all worked for all there is no separation of these groups. So that was really good advice, and that's how we came to this. And then we knew we wanted to commission a Southeast Asian playwright as well. That would be wild to not do that. And there was only one for us out there in the wilds of Minnesota.
No diss to anybody that applied.
Yeah. No, but that person couldn't take it, so we settled for it.
I was like, I'll do it.
I'll do it.
I did a Tanya Harding on them.
Yeah.
It's mine now. Very cool. I was also wondering, like, what did that approach look like when InterAct went to the organizations and was like, please work with us?
Okay, no
What was
joke.
that approach?
We brought lunch to your offices.
Oh, yeah.
It felt like me and Seth were going to like ask for their hand in marriage. It was like, here, we brought you this food, and then our board member, Peter, was there with us, who's Vietnamese. And he like facilitated this, like, it felt like a brokerage conversation where I was like, why are we all acting so weird? Like, we're just trying to make art together. But then we talked about what it would mean to have community involved in this process and in the conversation, what values you all wanted us to uphold, what we expected artistically. and how to, at the very beginning, how to spread the word in a way that was like accessible and equitable and reached as many people as possible. And I remember you all had like really good questions about if someone isn't right for the commission, how can they be involved down the road? And that was exciting to hear that even in that initial conversation, we weren't just talking about the play or the playwright, but like this project as a long longitudinal project, how are we gonna stay accountable to each other the whole time?
Yeah, yeah. And how did y'all accept that food? Food is love, but I was just thinking initially, I mean, the organizations, they're not arts organizations really, I think, except for maybe Laos in the House.
Yes.
And there are like sprinklings of artistic programming or projects that happen at, you know,
You got it, you got it.
You got it.
CAGP.
Nailed it, yeah.
Lao is VietLead. Can you talk a little bit more about what was it about this that made you go, yes, yes, we want to buy in, we want to be stewards of this project as well?
Besides my overwhelming charisma. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like hearing the other groups were also invited, you know, it's not just like, hey, we want you. It's like, oh, we also sent an invitation to CGP and VietLead. And so I was like, oh, okay, if Lan's gonna be there, you know, Chai's gonna be there, and then like, sure, I'll be there. So I always feel like that's sort of a lot of invitations for us. If people approach us and it's like a single cold email. I'm always wondering, like, how did you find us? Did you just Google and this is all you did? But then, you know, I feel like homework was done. And knowing that it was very specific in the ask, we're specifically asking your organization because we're thinking about this group of people who immigrated to Philadelphia at a very specific time. So it just felt right.
Yeah. Anybody wanted to add?
Yeah, I think my order was a hutiu. Yeah, I think what Catzie said, like, I think the intentionality was evident. I think too, it was like, oh, okay, like you invited CGP, Laos in the House. I think like our organizations work very like closely, but not necessarily together all the time, even though we're like in parallel. So I think the chances that we are intentionally asked to do stuff together is exciting. And I think like for it to be invited as like a Southeast Asia project, and it felt like, oh yeah, of course I want to do this, like with these like sister orgs, and also like, oh, what an honor to like also like show up for our community and rep our community in this way.
Yeah, for me, it's the same as you guys, like hearing that that we're all invited and knowing to like, we can work together. And I love working with the other Southeast Asian orgs, and, you know, as an outsider coming from Dallas, we're not, you know, Philly's very community based, like strongly actually. So seeing that all the other Southeast Asian orgs are coming together for a project, that really drew me personally into the project, because I was like, you know what, this is really cool. Like a project that's just based on just like Southeast Asian identity, especially, and also with arts, because there's not a lot of like art material around like our stories and our identity as Americans as well. So I felt like this would be a good platform for CGP to be part of. So
Yeah.
they were coming with it.
Yeah, you're right. There's not a lot of cultural production made by us that's for us, and that includes us and is performed by us and just us.
Okay, yeah.
What do we need to know about the Viet, Lao, and Khmer community here in Philadelphia? What makes these communities special, unique?
I could say from my point of view, I think it's all about, you know, like it's all about community. It's all about everybody's a family, everybody knows each other, everybody knows someone who does this. If you need some help, someone can help you with that. Like if you need some food, someone's making the food or selling the food. If you need like a haircut, my brother or cousin down the street can give you a haircut. Something. Everybody has something, and everybody knows somebody, and everybody's all connected somehow. And so like even though we all may be like separated and live different parts of Philly or even like Jersey, everybody is still all connected somehow, and everybody has like a shared memory from their past lives together. Like you can probably not see someone for 10 years and be like, oh yeah, I remember we went to school together.
Yeah.
You know, so it's all connected.
What about community?
I mean, I would say specifically, if I'm just thinking about Vietnamese, Cambodian, Lao, as somebody who grew up here, we always relied on each other. So I just remember getting groceries at the Vietnamese supermarket, that our doctor was Thai, and like I would see other families in there as well. And so the thing is, if we saw those groups of people who came at the same time as us also accessing those services, like accessing those services, going there, if it seems like, oh, that's where they're funding work, that's where they're registering their kids for school, then I'll go there too. And I feel like there's something about having been through a process together that you just feel more comfortable, even if you don't speak the same language. Like I remember there's a restaurant called Hang Seng. Oh, the air.
I think that's the central air.
Is it George this was louder? There's a restaurant called Hang Seng, which never had, well, when I was growing up, never had a menu.
Oh.
And you just had to go in and then just like say the word or hope you knew the other word. Like I would be like, I would come in and be like, I want latna, and they're like, and I'd be like, was Cambodian, Minatang, you know, and so like, so I mean, you end up learning all the words too, and I feel like, in a way, that's also like how our parents became fluent, because they had to survive, and in order to survive, they had to know what's going on, and so they ended up speaking many languages, and so I feel like too, there's something about like the helping part where, because we're so used to each other, we can like identify where people are from, and there's like that little inkling of like, let me just help a little bit extra, because even though you're not from my community, but you're like a part of my community.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely echoing everything that, yeah, that was said of like, just like the mutual care and like aid. I think something that we talked about too in the first session that was funny was like, I think what's kind of cool about Southeast Asians in Philly too, is like, I feel like we've like incorporated Philly into our identity too. So like we call banh mi's like Vietnamese.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
I
we
love
don't
that.
call it banh mi, we call it Vietnamese. That's what I grew up
Right.
calling it. And then later when it got trendy, people call it banh mi. I'm like, oh yeah. It is too. But there's like the I like call Catzie Vilayphonh. Catzie, you know about the band? You know the Blueberry
Yeah.
band?
Yeah.
And it's like where our communities like went to the blueberry fields when we first came over for work, and just like all these other iconic things that I think is like really kind of cool if you like talk to another person, the Southeast Asian like refugee experience of like how we had to adapt into the Philly experience and made our own unique like experience with Philly.
I also heard from like Cambodian folks, like beef sticks are like a very Cambodian Philly thing.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's like a cheesesteak Cambodian.
Well, I mean, I guess
These sticks or what?
beef sticks,
Oh, beef
yeah, like, and when, like, earlier in the 90s, like, it's popular now, because like, you know, we have the internet and whatever, but I think when we didn't, it was like I would hear from other people, like, yeah, like, only our grillers in Philly do it, like, everybody else, they don't have that.
Oh, like in restaurants.
No, not even restaurants, just like people, like the people who are grilling, yeah. So I guess if there was restaurants, they didn't have beef sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love hearing these stories. It's, to me, I feel like everybody in the community were themselves like walking bulletin boards of like resources, right? Like if you needed to work, you go to an auntie and you say, where'd you get that money? And they're like, hop into the van with me at the corner tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I love. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit of a curveball and talk about theater.
Love it.
You love that transition?
I'm ready,
You
yeah.
love that transition?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rogers and Hammerstein, okay, no, it's not a trivia show.
Okay, here we go. Which Southeast Asian centered play have you seen that affected you and why?
Scene?
That you've seen. in the last 50 years?
I have,
Of my
okay,
life.
I'm going to admit, by confession, I have not seen, like a Southeast Asian play. I will say that I saw, so Claire Nguyen, who is, has also been a part of this process at VietLead. She is a playwright, and during college, she wrote a play around, like Southeast Asian, like families and navigating, a family member who is facing deportation. So that play, I would say it's like the only play that I've seen that was very moving. That was very just like beautiful because it brought in elements of like our culture, like language, like so like very, I was like, oh yeah, that's like my family right there. And then also had yeah, like it was Viet and Southeast Asian student actors. So that was really beautiful too. But that's the only one I've seen.
I also feel like I haven't seen a play. Like I've seen Refugee Nation, but like not the full thing. Like I would see snippets of it. And I've seen people also do snippets or like soliloquy, like type, like one man monologue kind of performances, but not with full on play. Unless we're counting the time that I was asked to play a sex worker in Los Angeles by a Hmong artist, and
That's right. Go ahead.
Mux and I were in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
and the play was something about like it was something about like
Yeah.
not mental health, but like sexual education for sex workers, and yeah, I think she was like fleshing it out at the time, and we came up with characters.
Yeah.
My name was Tom Yum Yum.
Yeah. I was Lollipop.
And the hilarious part
Here we
was
go.
that Mux had to go to somewhere in Hollywood to go find like slutty clothes. Meanwhile, I just wore my regular slutty clothes.
Yeah, she pulled it out of her luggage. She's like, I got my costume, I'm ready.
So, but that was like the only time I was, seeing a full play. That was the closest thing, but yeah.
Do you pick yourself?
No. A Southeast Asian play?
Are you talking about May's play?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mainly Yang, who's a Hmong American playwright that's based in St. Paul, she wrote this play called 10 Reasons Why I'd Be a Bad Porn Star. And it's about her journey to her sexual renaissance, I guess, but also learning about how Asian women are at the top of the sex food chain.
Yeah.
And
But also that they lack access to
Right.
Education,
yes.
yeah, for sexual health.
Yeah, and this was a workshop production at the Consortium of Asian American Theater Conference in Los Angeles.
So you can do that, but not CAGP.
No,
No, that's good.
yeah, seeing the G just looks. Same.
I've only never a vowel between them.
I'm dyslexic, remember? I'm dyslexic.
Well, side eye to the camera.
Did either of you?
I haven't seen a Southeast Asian play. I've heard of one. I've never seen it, but I've heard of it for a while. And it's called the Cambodian rock band play. I've never seen it. I heard mixed reviews about it. But I feel like I should probably just see it myself to give my own opinion of it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I just know it's about oldies Cambodian rock music and like from back in from like the golden days of I think it was pre-French colonization maybe, or maybe like the 70s before that.
That's one of mine too. I've never seen it. I'm dying to see it because I, in my job, read a lot of plays. This was one of them. This is a Lauren Yee play, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Cambodian rock band. We can't do it at InterAct because we have a sound ordinance that won't let us do amplified music. I know, boo. But it is so good. Yes, it's about the like Cambodian rock scene that was flourishing until this little thing called an authoritarian came in. And then it's also a story of like an American, Cambodian American young woman like finding out about this, and it's sort of back and forth in time, and a band sort of being part of the resistance or something. So it's so good. I've never seen it, although I think they did a production somewhere that was really well reviewed, but it depends. on-
Well, you could fly to LA and see that East-West players. Hi, Lily.
Yeah.
It's showing there right now. So.
But another play that actually, this actor is in our workshop of your play that we're working on right now. Chaz T wrote a play called Dinner and Cake, which I really love. As someone who's mixed race, I love that play especially because it's about a mixed race couple. She's Vietnamese, he's white. They can't make it to dinner, so this couple is never in the play. But they get their friend, who's, I believe, also mixed race, who speaks Vietnamese and English, to be the translator between the parents of the couple at dinner. And it is a wild time. It's like the Southeast Asian who's afraid of Virginia Woolf. It's really fun and like harrowing at times, and just like the cultural miscommunications are funny, but it isn't like an outrageous comedy, but it is funny. Which I really loved, because in this production, the Vietnamese couple speaks primarily in Vietnamese, and the translation was super titled. So you could hear and see what they were saying the whole time. And I loved that the Asian characters in this play were whip smart, so funny. They were the funniest characters in the play, because I think often Asian characters get put in a different kind of caricature, which is like they can't communicate and they don't know what's going on, but actually they were just on top of it, as on top of it is more on top of it than the English speakers in the play.
Yeah.
So Dinner and Cake by Twit fan was good.
All right. Peter Moo, love it. Think of that.
Think of
We might put
that.
that in our next season.
Next.
Next
Yeah.
attacks. You know, our communities have centuries-long traditions of theater and like musical theater and dance, Jataka tales, Buddhist tales. And I wonder, for the Southeast Asians in America, what do you think is their relationship to American theater? What does that look like? Because from what y'all have been telling me, it sounds like it's not quite there.
I feel like it's non-existent. Partially because the way that theater has been traditionally in our culture has been like a play about a myth, about a legend, and if there's gods and monkeys and mermaids and giants. So these things that we're seeing aren't us, right? So it's like far away.
Mhm.
So we're used to the idea that this thing that's being presented has to be preserved because it's like symbolic. In America, we are taught that we should be able to see ourselves on stage, that you know, things that we are going through in current events should be reflected in the arts. And the arts is a great place that provides commentary on anything that's going on right now. So I think it's really hard for our parents' generation to realize that kind of medium, because you know they'll be the first, even if you like do something abstract, you know, they'll just be like, that's not right, you know, like just be like, oh, but the skirt is backwards, or like, but a man shouldn't be touching, you know what I mean? Like they just, because they're so used to this idea that things are traditional, it's this way, it's this song, it's over in 3 acts, and then that's it. Yeah, and so yeah, I think that we have to also help introduce that to them in baby steps, and you know, like they like seeing culture. And I think it's like really hard to do interactive stuff, right? Like they're so used to the idea that if you're on stage, you talk to each other, but then like, God, like a person comes out of character and they're like, oh, what's he doing? He's coming to us, what's going on? You know, so they're like, what's going on? Like, is it an emergency? You know, so yeah, I don't think they've just been introduced to the idea that theater can be so many things.
Right.
Yeah.
I think from a different perspective, I think, and I spoke with a lot of different Cambodians around the country, and for myself as well. Growing up, like my dad wasn't very like approving of like arts or anything creative, you know, and because I'm very left brain, like I have to get my creative juice outlet somehow, you know, and if I don't, I get mad, but I don't get mad, but
Okay.
Art cult.
but growing up, like, you know, I would always try to draw, try to have some kind of like artistic hobbies, and you know, at one point I wanted to pursue it as a kid, but my dad always tried to shut it down because he knew that it wasn't a career worth pursuing. And he always preached that to me and my sisters every single day, like, you know, do something that's worth like money. You need to earn money when you grow up, you know. And so like, but I was like, I want to draw, I want to take pictures, and I just had an interview with my dad recently, and he told me recently that his dream as a kid was to be an artist, and like I never knew that,
Wow.
you know. So like to hear him say that after like growing up and hearing his speeches about not being artistic, it was kind of opening for me, because it was like I thought he was this hard person who was really strict and tried to like limit our artistic abilities and artistic like outlet growing up. And so, and I feel that with a lot of other Cambodians around the country, like they feel like as a Cambodian kid growing up, you don't have a lot of creative outlets because our parents didn't allow us, or we were taught that we needed to be a doctor, we need to be an engineer, an architect, all that to earn money. So that's why I feel like there's not a lot of like artistic materials coming from Cambodians, at least, you know, because we didn't grow up with that opportunities.
I feel like this is a great time to quote the great Yo-Yo Ma. She said, the first generation has a responsibility of providing stability. And then the second generation has a responsibility of pursuing education and just getting knowledge, and, you know, and then the third generation could be the one that pursues the arts and their hearts and their passions. And all of us are like, no.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. Yeah.
We're doing passion now.
We're doing passion now.
We're breaking that barrier.
Brother, if you've been outside, it's hot. We gotta do it now.
Sorry, Yo-Yo Ma.
Breaking that curse.
Sorry, Yo-Yo
Can't
Ma.
relate.
No, Ma.
Yeah.
No, Ma.
Okay.
No, please.
No, she's trying to make her joke. No, but I love when you brought up Chai, because it feels like it's almost like sometimes it can feel like it's like a privilege to like enjoy the arts.
Yeah.
But then like I appreciate it, you know, most what you said of like, oh, actually, no, this is like a part of our culture, like throughout time. And to me, it is helpful because it's like, oh yeah, my parents like love watching Paris by Night. Like, you know, like we grew up in like traditional
Really quickly, explain to the people what Paris by Night is.
I think it's like, I guess it's maybe like the like Vietnamese, like it's like Southeast Asian like refugee diaspora meets like what it was coming to the US, and like creating like their version of like, I don't know.
It's a collection of Vietnamese pop music that is mostly just like covers of American songs. And because the Vietnamese hopped on it so fast that we were like, okay, like it, and we also learned their version of the song. You know what I mean?
And I didn't realize that other Southeast Asian communities also watched.
Oh, yeah.
Well, because that was what was available.
That was
available.
No one else had the budget.
Exactly. Because in Laos, we didn't even have pop music. We weren't allowed to. Like, if we wanted to listen to pop music, we had to listen to Thai pop songs. So like, yeah. So we were like, oh yeah, I know Linda Trang Dai.
Shout out to Linda Trang Dai, who was arrested.
Oh my God.
For allegedly stealing Gucci AirPod cases, or a case. Free my girl. But also, she's MAGA, so.
So
Yeah.
so really free my girl.
Yeah. You touched on this thing about we were not allowed to. And I wonder if Chaiya, like your dad, was there something there from like his time in Vietnam, his time in Cambodia, where he felt like the Khmer Rouge, Pol Pot and them, you know, the big brothers, the big sisters. Do you think that had something to do with your dad pulling away from?
Yes and no. And because I just recently, you know, I did a thing with him a couple months ago where he told me everything. So this is still fresh in my mind. He was already not wanting to stray. He was already straying away from the arts at a young age because he knew that he needed to get into a more sustainable career. But also the war also affected that because he was like a teenager around the time when it kind of started, and he was told that he was on a list of people who had knowledge or skills or anything. And so he knew that because having that, it was kind of risky. So he thought that, he had to, like, I guess, bring it down a little more. So that was also a fear, but he also had that in him before that he needed to be more sustainable with his career choices.
Right.
But he's always been like a big advocate for arts and history, which is what he told me. But I think growing up, when while he was still raising us, he tried to, like, I guess, limit his affection or his expression with that because he didn't want us. I don't know. I guess he didn't want us to, like, see that and try to waste time to try to go pursue that. Because there were multiple times where I wanted to, like, join like an art competition or start drawing or painting, but he didn't want me to. So like, even with sports, like, it wasn't, I guess, at the time, was sustainable, or it wouldn't make money. Or I guess he didn't believe me in my sports ability.
Damn.
I guess when I was short, and I was like, I don't think that's what, like, you're short. But and like I don't like, and I know in American culture, I think it's American culture, like, when you're left-handed, that's a sign of, like, creativity or something like that, right?
And or the devil.
Yeah,
depending what-
so with that, with what Chaz says, the left-handed was like a symbol of, like, the devil or evil, and so I was born left-handed, and so my dad knew that, and I guess trained me to be more right-handed when I was as a kid. Yeah, but eventually I would go back and forth with right hand, but
Look at you rebelling.
Are you ambidextrous?
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
Methodist.
Wow. You said amphibious too.
I thought you said Methodist. Feel relevant.
That's just so,
Yeah.
Different things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but yeah.
yeah, good for you. Good for you. Anybody else want to add anything more about, I forgot what the question was.
Well, the original question
nothing
was
else.
Southeast
Yes.
Asians and the theater,
Yeah.
or like Southeast Asian stories in American theater.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
have
just,
it here.
yeah, it's right
Just
there in
ask
front of
it.
you. You could, but why? Oh my
All
god,
right,
who has the time?
let me read this question I wrote last night.
Great.
Number 7. As a community engaged practicing playwright, it's important for me and actually really necessary to my practice to be able to include, community voices at basically every step of development of my plays. I have done this with Kung Fu Zombies versus Cannibals, Kung Fu Zombies versus Shaman Warrior, and the upcoming Kung Fu Zombies versus Southeast Asian Girl Scouts.
Look out for Kung Fu Zombies versus Sang Sarah Salon.
That's right. Just because I feel like the work is more deeply enriched when I get multiple viewpoints and experiences and histories to help inform that work. And our communities are not used to going to American theater. So it wasn't like we could do a community forum or a circle at the Drake. No, this to the Drake. Beautiful space. But we had to meet the community where they are. And so I want you to just share with the people what were some of the ways that you helped me do this, like to go meet people where they are? Because I can answer it, but I want to hear your voices.
Yeah, but you say it. Well, on our end, we at InterAct, since I'd done this with the like community before in the first play of the Philly cycle. First I reach out to these fine people and also Chaiya. And then there are other communities or organizations around town who are specifically focused on Southeast Asian, and then some just like broadly Asian, Pan-Asian identity groups. So we started here, and then I made other connections for you that they couldn't come on as quite as big of a community partner role. But like we went to dinner with Queer Asian Philly, and that was really fun. Oh, and the quail was so good. And we went over to CMAC as well to like tap into the elder community.
And what is CMAC?
Ooh. Southeast Asian
I don't think I know.
Mutual assistance.
Community
Sorry.
service.
I guess, but no, but.
I know.
There's two ways.
Two A's, okay.
Assistance.
Something
some
coalition.
Coalition.
Yeah,
You found their laptop, they can Google it.
Yeah. We know it, we just like don't know it, you know? Yeah, so we had some meetings with other community or I keep saying that, other organizations about town. And we have on the theater side got you all, we just try to get you everything you need to produce, or not produce, but develop this play and produce. But to develop this play with like the right people in the room as best as we can. Which has highlighted for us on the art side, like there isn't a huge pool of Southeast Asian actors available to us in Philadelphia. New York is one thing, LA is another thing. And in this case, we have had to ask people to come down from New York, which is great. It grows our network too, and our like pool of great artists. But we were just saying at the end of our rehearsal day today, like that is a burgeoning group of people because of exactly the phenomenon you're talking about, Chaiya, where it's like a lot of people in our generation and older were told they were not allowed to pursue something like that, something like this, that you and I are, this absolute racket that we're involved in. But it's interesting to see like a younger generation coming up to be encouraged to embrace being in the arts now that representation is like celebrated. Well, it was, I don't know anymore.
And then January came.
And then January hit. Yeah, so on our end, that's how we've been hooking you up. And it's so much good food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how have y'all been doing it for me?
Yeah, what about you guys?
I drove you around a couple times.
Sure. Let's save money on that list.
Yeah, well, I know one of the places I really wanted to take you was the Southeast Asian Market at Afternoon Park, which is this open air market that was founded by Lao Cambodian refugees who just started selling in the park because they tried to open restaurants and American customers were like, what the hell is this? But like it was really easy for them to just start grilling and then like word of mouth. But unfortunately, at the time it wasn't open, but I was able to introduce you to one of the vendors, BK. And I told her to come to the temple where you are and, you got to talk to her, you got to talk to the volunteers at the temple and you FaceTime your dad.
Sure did.
And they invited him and you to come back for New Year.
Yes.
And that was a lot of fun and they brought out like the book, they had like when the temple was first purchased and like what it looked like with the land deeds and
Wait, folks, tell us about that book and your experience with it.
Yes, this amazing book where there's only one copy.
And it's held together with?
Composition book, right?
It is it's a historic document because it has existed since the temple began, which is 19.
Very early, like 1996, 98, like very early, like
Yes.
mid-90s.
And in this amazing book, they have the mission of the temple. They have a list of all the initial board members and a spreadsheet of everyone who gave money to to the dollar.
Yeah, it's huge. It's-
Handwritten,
Yeah.
And all of their, notably, all their like 501c3 IRS documents. Are just
990s.
all their, it's just
Together.
all
Yeah.
Yeah.
And uncle said to me, if you want to take it with you to study, you can. And I was like, great. And then he's like, but it's only one copy. So bring it back.
And Brooks just goes, no, thank you. They pushed it back across the
Take
stage.
photos instead. Yeah. But it was just so warm and inviting to be welcomed at like the temple and then at the gala and then like the hair salon.
Yeah,
and
hold
the
on. I
supermarkets.
took you to a restaurant.
Yes.
Where the owner came out and then sat down and ate with us.
That's right.
He said that.
And food I ordered and
I just put up a chair and started talking.
family.
Yeah.
Family, that's family.
Yeah, and then you went to Derek's salon.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
and then she heard so much tea. She was like, "Who's maybe?" I was like, "What? Why?" And she's like, "Oh, there's something about somebody's husband." I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Oh, God. Yeah.
You heard all the community tea just from being at the salon.
They were so open because I'm a safer person.
Well, for
Good,
real,
fair.
you didn't have any, yeah, we finally seen in the game, you were late to our meeting with CMAC, cause you were like, I'm talking to Sang right now, I'm getting all the tea, I'm
Sorry,
talking on
I'm getting a perm.
I just decided I'm getting a perm.
Actually, this was one of the things when we did the final interview, when I was interviewing for this position. One of the questions that InterAct asked me was, what are some of the methods that you use to
Oh
engage
my
with
gosh.
community? And
I
I was
remember
like,
the answer.
real talk, I show up with Hennessy.
Yeah, that was really
And
answer.
they were like,
Okay, everyone
Wait.
except Chaz was like, huh, and I was like, okay, you're hired, that sounds like fun,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's
I
my
was
strategy
like-
with my family too.
citrus fruits
Yep.
and Hennessy.
Mandarins,
That's,
yeah.
yeah, because food is love,
Yep,
and that's food.
kind of seems to it,
It's a
yeah.
trust builder
It's
right
food
there.
for the soul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I wanna talk about these safer spaces, right, for our communities. Temples, hair salons, grocery stores, laundromats. What else? Oh, and even house parties, right? And even like backyard restaurants.
Parks.
Parks. These are all, I feel like, safer spaces where people can commune, they can share, they can feel like their full humanity is honored and respected. And I wonder, do you think the theater can be that type of space for our communities eventually, or in June 2026?
In a year,
When this play
in 16
premieres.
months or so.
Yeah. I know, it's a big one.
I think, you know, as we move forward with, you know, our generation and trying to like be the trailblazer for the next generation, I feel like we can make anything a safe space. As you know, anything could be at home. It's all a matter of the people who are allowing this space. You know, like when you do the theater, you're like, who are the people, who are the actors, who's the playwright, who are the people producing the play. If you let the audience or let the community know that, okay, this is a Southeast Asian play made by a Southeast Asian, produced by Southeast Asians, that's already welcoming to hear and to read, you know, so that's like a start. And we could just, any space you find can be safe, you just have to, you know, create that.
Yeah.
When I think about safe or safer spaces, I think it's not that it's like turnkey ready for you to come in and feel perfectly comfortable. The safety comes from, you have to feel like you can fall on your face, make a mistake, and it not incur the wrath of anybody. There's no consequence to asking a question or not knowing something, or as they say, falling down flat. And that is definitely the work of the American theater institution when it comes to Southeast Asian Americans or any like minority group in America. Our form of theater is very, very based on the European model. Where it's like, there are rules of engagement and etiquette. You come in, you go to the box office, you sit down quietly, you turn off your phone or not. And then you like sit and watch the play, you clap, you leave. There's a separation between actors and audience. The director is one thing, like, you know, I'm describing a phenomenon you're all familiar with. But there are different ways to engage with a live performance art, whether it's theater or music, or even the idea that theater is only one thing is a like pretty inculcated Western idea. So I think for a safer space for like our people or other people's people, different like what's the word I'm looking for? Traditions of live performance have to be incorporated. And then we also have to shift as theater institutions and theater makers shift. Who are we making these stories for? You came into our rehearsal and you were like, this is not a play for white people. I am not going to explain. I'm not going to have translations of the various languages that are being spoken, because if you don't get it, you don't get it, literally. But also, if you don't get the vibe, that's on you. Like the vibe is very human. So I think to transition who we're focusing on and why we're focusing on them, which is to sell tickets instead of, can the theater be a place where we are intentionally trying to build community and not make a buck?
Yeah.
And you need to make a buck. It is a business, but like, can community be the engine behind mutual aid and economic growth, I think it could.
Correction, it is a nonprofit,
What did I say?
a business.
A nonprofit is a business. Nonprofit is just a tax status.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't let me school you on your show though. Yeah.
No, I can't even read. Nothing, no, nothing, yeah. Do you wanna add anything else?
I think it can be. I think there has to be the sense of familiarity, so even if there is like some traditional insertion of performance. People are aware, okay, that's what this space is, this is the theater space, but I think it's like, who invited me here? You know, who else is here sitting with me? I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but if I see people like me, people my age group or whatever, and I just follow them. And the thing with the arts is that it's hard because you want it to be successful, you want to make money, you want something that you create to be received well, but you also have to remember that people have to also be allowed to not like it, but like with our group, it's hard to know if they don't like it because they don't like the content, or they just don't, they're not comfortable, or theater isn't their thing, they'd rather see live music, you know. And it's easier for us because we've been exposed to it all, and we know we have choice, we know we have diversity, or we used to.
Don't say that.
Don't say the D word.
Don't say the D word.
We knew we had choice, and we knew we could choose, and like, you know, oh, I like that, not that. And for them, this might be their very first time being invited to a theater space. And so, yeah, it's an experiment.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm really excited for Southeast Asians to see Southeast Asian stories. Because I'm like, you know, have we not gone to theater space? I mean, so many reasons, like, yeah, just like the structure of it wasn't like made for us, by us. And the stories just aren't like relatable. It's like, why would I go and watch something that doesn't even feel like relevant to my life? And then I think about like Southeast Asian like stories, and I'm like, even that like Southeast Asian like stories are, it's just not as like common. And so like I'm excited like now that we are, you know, I think it is like our generation now in this moment. I feel like, you know, it's for so much of like our family's generation, like there's so much storytelling, and yet I think there was a period where people didn't tell their stories because like trauma, like fear, like, okay, we're hearing the same refugee stories, we don't want to repeat these like trauma stories. But I think we're reaching a place now that it's like, let's tell our stories in a different way.
Yes, yeah.
And like, actually, let's tell the other parts of like refugee resettlement. Let's tell about, and so I'm excited that we're at this place now, that it's like, there's not one story about us. Let's tell our story. Let's tell like our story in a completely different way, in a really creative way that isn't like boxed in. And I'm excited like when we have more space for that, and our community is like sees that themselves in the stories, that then they can feel more like accessible to come to the theater and come to any other art form that has our stories in it.
Yeah, I mean, yes, let's find all the different ways that our stories can live, not just in theater, but in film, you know, in poetry, and I don't know what you do. Technical writing.
Technical writing. Now we're talking about it seriously.
Because Catzie touched on this point where there may be members of the community who do not care for theater, but they love music. There may be people who do not care about music, but they love poetry, right? And so what are those access points for people to get into the experiences, the histories, the stories that we want to tell? And the answer is my play. It's my play.
That was seamless. God,
Yeah.
masterclass in
I didn't
subtlety.
write that. It was just,
Laptop is closed,
That's
brain
right.
is on.
that's
Yeah.
right, yeah. We're just, I think a few more minutes until we wrap up, but is there anything that you want to add? I mean, what are you anticipating or looking forward to in the next year when I come back? What do you want me to bring?
I want to say like so excited to have you on
Yeah.
board, folks. Like I feel like when we first all met, like over food and stuff, you are who we dreamed of.
Oh,
Because we were like, we want a Southeast Asian artist.
Mhm.
We want somebody who's gonna center community voices.
that's me.
We
Yeah.
want somebody who is going to also expand beyond like the stories that are currently available. And then you came, and it's just really awesome to like have you like bring our stories like into life and to really see like all of our values like really come together.
Mhm. Yeah, something that
That's a lot.
all of you said in different ways and sometimes in the exact same way was. We don't want like another sad Asian play about like the war. It is such a part of the like DNA of the stories that get told, especially in the theater, I think. But and that you can't escape it, it's part of it, but also there is so much more to like being part of this community and the story of our like as a large body of people being integrated into the community. And I mean, I have the inside scoop on your play, and so will you soon, but like it is balanced between just like the everyday humor of everything, and the like cultural like little quirks. Plus, there is the heaviness. It can't be escaped, but it doesn't have to be. It can't be the only
Yeah.
thing that people and like pho can't be the only thing that people think of when they think of Vietnamese American people.
Yeah,
That's
I'm tired of it.
yeah.
We're also gorgeous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Fabulous. We're fabulous.
Fabulous.
Laos House is celebrating our 10-year anniversary in May. So we finally figured out a phrase, I guess, or whatever, because I don't know, the tenure just crept up on me and they were like, somebody was like, do you have a theme? I was like, a theme? I was like, we made it, you know, and so,
I love it.
that literally is like,
We made
like, we
it.
made it here, we're here, we're still here.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can't wait for you to come back and actually see the market in like full force, for you to meet all the aunties. I don't know if you're gonna bring your dad, because last time you said you had to fight women who were trying to like marry him, so.
My dad's hot, y'all. Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, I'm excited I'm like already thinking of like my friends who exist outside of like the community work that I do, to just invite them and be like, there's gonna be a play, guys. Y'all need to come. Yeah.
And they're like, what's a play?
I tried to invite somebody to the reading and then they're like, is there a flyer? I was like, no, it's invite only.
I'm inviting you.
No, they were like,
Is it flyer or flyer?
a flyer,
Obviously,
but I was
it's
trying to invite this person. I was like, hey, what are you doing? And I was like explaining. And then they were like, so do you want me to come to this meeting? I'm like, it's not me. I'm inviting you. I can't wait for, you know, our culture to get to that point where it's like, it doesn't have to feel like work to like want to come to something that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I'm excited for just the idea of it coming to fruition, because I feel like as myself, you know, like I'm not like big in the theater scene, so I feel like with this play coming out next year, I feel like this and also with all of our collective work, this could help bring more awareness to the community. But like, okay, this is a play, you know, that we all work together as a community to bring to the table for you guys to see, you know, written by Southeast Asian, written about Southeast Asians and everything. So I hope that this can like open the door for more people to be like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it.
Right,
You know?
exactly.
Like someone written a play, you know, hey, the whole community, the whole city's behind it, you know, what can I do, you know?
But you know, it's also, it's like the opportunity. right?
Yeah.
Cause like, right now, there's people who may be like, I wanna be an actor, but I'm not seeing the plays, so I have to write it. And so like, instead of time being an actor, which is what they wanna do,
Mhm.
they now have to write it because it isn't there before. That opportunity doesn't exist. I mean, that challenge doesn't exist for other people. They can decide, I only wanna be an actor,
Yeah.
and there's so many plays for me to choose from. And I feel like, being able to see that things are happening, opportunities are happening, and that they can like, you know what, let me not try to do all of it, that the community is changing, that the art scene is changing, there will be choices for me.
And I feel like with how your plays, when it comes out, I feel like the way your play is written, that can probably, like with what you said, like, let's say someone wrote a play, they're not confident with how their play is, and like, okay, this sounds silly, but then they see your play, it's like, oh wait, this play is crazy. It has so much shit going on, but it's
It really
good.
is.
That will give someone the confidence, it's like, okay, if that play made it, then this play can.
Yeah, I always tell the next generation, please do a better job than me. You can write a better play than what I did. Kung Fu Zombies, that's nothing. Go do your better thing. And I want that. Like, I want things to just keep getting better and improving. I want to share something as a wrap up. This morning, when we did our table work for the second draft of the play, we had a young performer named Lex, and they shared something, and Lex is Lao in Cuban. And they shared that this is the first time that they're playing a Lao character and how much that meant. And I tried not to cry. So I didn't want to mess up my eyelids. They're already messed up. They want to mess them up more. But feedback like that, like the qualitative stuff, is what continues to nourish me. And I'm hoping that we get to see and hear a lot of those type of stories and confessions, or in the months to come from our community.
Sure.
I just want to do right by them because they're paying me a lot of money.
And you are, and we trust that.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, everybody. That's been our conversation, and I just want to give a shout out to folks listening at home. Thank you for spending the evening with us and get to know these organizations, right? We have VietLead, Laos in the House, Cambodian American Association,
Greater Philadelphia.
and of course, InterAct Theater. And I want to give a shout out again to the people that are making this live stream possible. Huge shout out and love to the Allen Foundation, where I am a playwright in residence at Theater Mill. They pay me. And then shout out to Theater Mill, my home, creative home, to InterAct, and then to these orgs, and then to Fresh Ink Theater. Who is Fresh Ink Theater? It was on the website.
Well,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thanks so much.
So goodbye, Khop Chai.
Bye.
Bye.